Part 4. My Military Experience, 1977-1980. Chapter 20. The Life of a New Recruit. In Yunling, Cloud Ridge, 1977. Joining the Army was more than a choice. It signified a distinct divide between my past and an unpredictable future. In 1977, military service was regarded as a respected honor and a pathway for personal advancement. Additionally, it offered a way out from the constraints of the up to the mountains and down to the countryside campaign. Yet this seemingly glorious path was laden with obstacles and had no easy routes. It required resilience, courage to overcome major challenges, and constant adaptation, particularly for a Shanghai high school graduate accustomed to urban life, not the structured military environment in a rural setting. The transition occurred swiftly, nearly overwhelming me. I had only a week to prepare before I could fully grasp the implications of my enlistment. I had little to pack. What lay ahead needed no possessions, just my body and my soul. The emotional burden I carried was immense. Parting from my mother impacted me deeply. Following my father's death 5 years prior, she had devoted herself to raising me and my younger siblings alone. As her oldest son was now departing unexpectedly, it must have felt like a profound loss, even if she never voiced it. On December 27, 1976, I bid a quiet farewell to my mother. I reported to the district military recruitment office where we spent the night. We boarded a military train at the North Railway Station at dawn, bound for an unknown destination, Jingxian County in Anhui Province, 300 miles away from Shanghai to the west. The journey extended through a full day and night, with the rhythmic sound of wheels on tracks resonating deep within me as I looked out at the changing, unfamiliar scenery. Upon our arrival in Jing County town, military trucks draped in thick canvas awaited us, rumbling further into the mountainous terrain. Nightfall approached, casting shadows across the snow-covered peaks. The sky hung heavy, with gentle snow flurries swirling about, and the mountains wore heavy white cloaks. The biting cold cut through even the thick cotton layers of our military coats. We endured an hour-long journey along winding roads until we finally reached our destination, a field army camp nestled deep in the mountains. My garrison was stationed in Yunling, meaning Cloud Ridge, southern Anhui Province, and served as part of an independent division under the Anhui Provincial Military Command. The stunning scenery of the towering mountains surrounding the camp captivated me. Still, I soon learned that this location was also shrouded in mist, rich in a profound past, marked by a tumultuous history of violence and conflict. In 1941, during World War II and the Japanese invasion, the so-called tragic Southern Anhui incident unfolded in the Cloud Ridge area. The Communist Army, led by Ye Ting and Shang Ying, faced near-total annihilation while attempting to break through a nationalist army siege. Ye Ting was captured, while Shang Ying vanished into obscurity. As I discovered past events around me, I developed a profound connection that immersed me in history. My military experience gained new significance, and I evolved from a mere observer or reader of history to an active participant in this enduring legacy. Fueled by curiosity, I engaged with local villagers during my service, gathering their accounts of those pivotal moments and weaving my experiences into the broader story of World War II and China's military legacy. Transitioning from the lively streets of Shanghai to a secluded mountain camp was a shock. Although I had previously visited my father's rural hometown, this experience felt distinct. It wasn't just a visitor. This was my new reality, demanding more than simple adaptation. It called for a complete transformation of my identity. Each day we trained with unwavering dedication, mastering weaponry, enduring harsh conditions, and persistently pushing our physical and mental boundaries. Yet, amid the rigors, there was exhilaration, a unique sense of conquering challenges I had never encountered. Life in the military was tough, but I faced it with the same enthusiasm I had for long-distance running, playground fights, and basketball games from my past. January heralded the beginning of our rigorous training, immersing us in the harsh depths of winter. The ground was covered with snow, and without hot water we used ice and snow to wash our faces and feet. Our initial month focused on fundamental drills, crawling and rolling through frozen mud, marching in tight formations, and mastering firearms. Armed with heavy rifles, ammunition, and bedding, each step challenged our endurance. Evenings provided no relief. The abrupt sound of a bugle yanked us from sleep, compelling us to hastily dress, seize our rifles, and march into the biting cold. Meal choices were minimal, primarily consisting of large pots of rice and boiled cabbage. Occasionally, small portions of shredded meat were included, but often they were absent. Once a week, meat-filled dumplings provided brief comfort, but as someone who had avoided meat since kindergarten, I was limited to cabbage or pickled vegetables during that grueling month. At night, we slept on hard earthen floors, with only a layer of straw for comfort. This reminded me of our school farming trips, but it felt harsher in the biting winter cold. 20 of us were crammed into a small red brick barrack, huddling closely together. With no entertainment options, many soldiers resorted to crude jokes and rough banter, creating an atmosphere that felt unsettling to me. To shift our focus, I suggested that I tell them a story. My fellow recruits enthusiastically embraced the idea. Thus, my nightly ritual of narrating Alexandre Dumas' classic, The Count of Monte Cristo, commenced. This narrative introduced my companions to an unfamiliar realm, filled with intrigue and revenge from distant Europe. Having thoroughly read the book in Shanghai the year earlier, I diligently reconstructed each chapter in my own notebook, relying entirely on memory. Each session concluded with a cliffhanger, leaving my audience eager for the next part. This storytelling evolved into a cherished source of comfort amid the harsh routines of boot camp, offering a small yet invaluable escape from the harsh realities surrounding us. Following the basic training of recruits, I was placed in the first squad of the 1st Platoon within the 1st Mortar Company of the 1st Battalion. Our company was split into 3 specialized platoons. The 1st Platoon used 82mm mortars. The 2nd Platoon operated 85mm recoilless rifles, and the 3rd Platoon managed heavy machine guns. For the next 4 years, my life focused on mortar operations. Our squad leader, Zhang, a native of Jing County, was tall, lean, and toughened by the rigors of rural life. Despite having only completed 2 years of high school, he was the most educated among the local soldiers. This stood in stark contrast to our group of recruits from Shanghai, who had graduated from 4 years of high school, creating an underlying tension. Zhang regarded us city boys as soft, spoiled, and entitled, while my fellow Shanghai recruits secretly viewed him as a rustic country bumpkin. Despite these mutual biases, Zhang and I discovered a shared understanding. While some of my peers criticized him, I admired his resilience and commitment, and he appreciated my honesty and flexibility. After observing my rigorous training closely for a day, he surprised me with a gentle smile and said,
"Not everyone from Shanghai is bad."
Acknowledging my educational qualifications, Zhang entrusted me with the vital role of number 1 gunner, a position usually held by the deputy squad leader. This role demanded a strong grasp of trigonometry and proficiency in the meal system to determine firing angles accurately. Since our deputy squad leader was unfamiliar with these mathematical concepts, the position was left unfilled until Zhang decided to place his confidence in me. Consequently, this marked the true beginning of my military career. The heavy, powerful, and unwavering mortar was essential for our squad in combat. As the number one gunner, I calculated target distances and set precise angles for accuracy. The squad's effectiveness depended on my quick and accurate calculations and operations. While mastering the mechanics and math felt natural to me, carrying the 20-pound barrel over rough terrain challenged my strength and endurance. Growing up in Shanghai, I had never encountered such physical demands before. The toughest challenges arose during emergency nighttime assemblies and forced marches, where exhaustion weighed on my limbs. My earlier life had surprisingly equipped me for this challenge. The hours I spent running long distances, the intense basketball drills during high school years, and the stamina built from childhood fights became crucial assets. Every painful step tested my determination, and each restless night strained my resolve. Despite my shoulders burning from the load and my legs pleading for rest, I was determined not to lag. In addition to mortar operations, our training encompassed all aspects of infantry warfare, including the use of rifles and submachine guns, accurate grenade throwing, advancing in formation, and executing intricate combat maneuvers. Each exercise challenged us, honing our skills and transforming us into competent soldiers, regardless of our readiness. Soldiers took turns guarding the campsite each night, with each shift lasting 2 hours that felt endless. During these shifts, the thick darkness enveloped us, and the cold air seeped relentlessly through our thin uniforms, making the experience even more oppressive. Even when we were off duty and enjoying a well-deserved sleep, the sudden blare of a bugle would wake us up. Instantly, we would leap out of bed, dress quickly, fold our blankets with precision, and grab our rifles and equipment before rushing out. Soon after, we would march briskly across the frozen countryside, our steps muffled by the snow, continuing for 10 to 20 miles. During these forced marches, I carried not just my rifle and ammunition, but also the heavy mortar barrel itself, pressing down on my shoulder like an iron yoke. We trudged through uneven farmland, our boots sinking into soft ridges, sliding on icy patches, or stumbling into concealed pits. One ruthless night, I was falling so hard that I momentarily lost consciousness, only to be jolted awake by my squad leaders shouting. My heart raced in my ears, my vision blurred, but there was no time for weakness. Gritting my teeth, I pushed myself back up and kept marching, despite my legs trembling in protest. My fellow recruits had their own challenges. In the frenzy, soldiers lost their belts, misplaced rifles, and dropped hats. Our company commander berated us harshly, his voice like a whip slicing through the frigid air.
"You're all worthless,"
he shouted over and over, striking at our pride. Over time, we adjusted. The once frantic nights of responding to alarms transformed into a routine. Muscle memory overcame uncertainty, and discipline reduced confusion. While relentless military training constituted part of our preparation, the other half came from the Army's self-sufficiency policy, which required each company to produce its own food through farming, a system known as small-scale production. We received basic grain rations from the state, with all other provisions relying on our efforts in the fields. Consequently, as soldiers, we also took on the role of part-time farmers, responsible for growing vegetables, caring for livestock, and ensuring our company maintained its own food supply. This was second nature for recruits from rural areas. They wielded farming tools as easily as rifles. However, for city-bred recruits like myself, agricultural work felt degrading and tiring. The hours spent hunched over vegetable fields, shoveling manure, and lugging heavy buckets of water from faraway valley wells felt more like a punishment than a responsibility. Morning drills already exhausted me, and the afternoons spent laboring under the sun only deepened my suffering. In the army, hard labor represented more than just work. It signified loyalty and dedication. Soldiers who shunned farm duties risked being seen as weak, undisciplined, or even politically questionable. Recognizing these views, I compelled myself to accept farm work as a new form of training, a test of mental toughness. I started with minor tasks hauling water, loosening soil with a hoe, spreading manure until, through relentless determination, I achieved a level of skill I once thought was impossible. Gradually, I was transforming into a soldier, not just in appearance but in essence. Our deputy squad leader was also a local native. He was a tough, quiet man whose fierce demeanor hid profound insecurities. Although he would have made an excellent number 1 gunner, his limited education, having only completed 3rd grade, hindered him from handling the essential math required. As a result, he took on the role of number 2 gunner, responsible for assembling the mortar's base plate and assisting me with aiming operations. He viewed the recruits from Shanghai as arrogant and unable to grasp real hardship. However, my quiet resolve to undertake the difficult agricultural work gradually earned his respect. One rainy afternoon, as I strained to carry 2 heavy wooden buckets of water up a slippery, mud-slick slope, my foot suddenly lost traction. I tumbled backward, landing hard, water splashing across my body and soaking me to the bone. For a moment, I lay breathless on my back. The deputy squad leader was close by and witnessed the incident. He quickly came to my aid, encouraging me to take a break. He then carried the wooden buckets to fill them with water and finished the tasks I was supposed to handle in the field. Eventually, during my time working in the fields, he would silently stand next to me, observing. We formed a friendship. Over time, he began to share his invaluable agricultural knowledge, including the correct methods of fertilization, the optimal planting times for various crops, and the critical importance of timing in farming, as though my sole ambition was to become a farmer under his careful guidance. He found joy in this. On the training ground, I collaborated closely with squad leader Zhang, understanding that our military skills were our greatest assets. The accuracy required to operate a mortar necessitated discipline, patience, and a clear understanding of math traits I was committed to developing. Our squad soon functioned like a finely tuned machine. The number 3 gunner, affectionately nicknamed Fat King, was a stocky, jovial recruit who became the squad's unofficial entertainer. Despite frequently being mocked for his short and stout stature, his fiery temperament kept jokes in check. Even Zhang, our serious squad leader, was cautious around him. During operations, our tasks were focused, clear, and synchronized. Fat King quickly set up the heavy base plate for the mortar, while the deputy squad leader and I meticulously assembled the barrel and mount. Squad leader Zhang provided target coordinates, which I promptly converted into accurate aiming adjustments. After that, we awaited the command and fired. Our actions were instinctive, resembling a choreographed dance of precision. Underneath this mechanical efficiency, a stronger bond developed, a silent camaraderie forged through shared effort and challenges. One day, a fellow soldier in our company from Ningbo, named Wu, casually brought up something surprising during our short chat.
The regimental library will be opening soon. If you'd like to borrow books, come see me.
A library? In the army? It seemed almost unbelievable. Even during my school years in Shanghai, there wasn't a library. How could a library exist in this distant, mountainous military camp? Initially, I envisioned a small room with dusty shelves packed with military manuals and ideological pamphlets. Nevertheless, my curiosity was stirred. Wu was tasked with establishing the regiment's library. Aware of my passion for reading, he informed me immediately. He was probably one of the most educated soldiers from Ningbo at that time. After completing his military service, Mr. Wu became one of the top officials in his home province of Zhejiang. The following day, I went to find Wu at the regimental headquarters. I was surprised to see a well-organized library, though it was not spacious. Its shelves were filled not only with Marxist classics by Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, and Mao, but also with a notable selection of Chinese and Western works on political theory, history, philosophy, and literature. My heart quickened with quiet excitement. I restrained myself from indulging in reading the books I love, but chose Lenin's biography of Karl Marx as my first book borrowed from the Army Library, a choice made after thoughtful deliberation. Finding the library surpassed mere enjoyment. It became my hidden refuge, a peaceful haven where I could enrich my mind amidst the disciplined structure of military life. Yunling's sweltering summer heat proved relentless and oppressive, pressing down on our camp like molten iron. By noon, our barracks transformed into stifling ovens, with the air feeling thick and still. To combat this, the company instituted a mandatory 2-hour midday rest period, during which most soldiers, completely worn out, fell onto their bunks, their sweat-soaked uniforms heavily clinging to their skin. However, while others rested, I chose to read. I adopted this routine every day. Quietly, I would escape to a secluded corner of the barracks, allowing the rhythmic snores of my fellow recruits to fade into the distance. Enveloped by the oppressive summer heat, my thoughts wandered through pages rich with insightful ideas authored by Marx, Engels, Plekhanov, and other distinguished revolutionary authors. Over the course of several months, I eagerly devoured nearly 10 books, diligently jotting down my reading notes and reflections in my notebook. This included complex theoretical works, such as The Capital by Karl Marx and The State and Revolution by Vladimir Lenin, alongside fascinating historical narratives, including The Life of Lenin by Louis Fisher, A General History of China, and A General History of the World, among others. During those serene afternoons, I was convinced I was deepening my understanding of the world and broadening my perspective. To me, knowledge equaled power, and words held truths that could illuminate the shadowy paths ahead. While I physically conditioned myself for combat, I also mentally equipped myself, preparing to be a soldier, think critically, and navigate the complex world outside these mountain barracks. Our regiment's camp in Yunling town truly reflected its poetic name Cloud Ridge. The mountains were perpetually shrouded in mist, their summits frequently hidden by drifting clouds. Below, a wide valley unfolded, rich and lively with concealed life, quietly harboring the dispersed units of our regiment. At the center of this isolated realm rested a spacious field, bordered by a humble bus station, our only connection to the outside world. Our barracks stood elevated above the rest at the foot of Yunling's tallest peak. On days when our squad practiced individually, we ascended into the misty solitude. Positioned on the mountain's summit, we honed our mortar drills with a view of endless, fog-covered peaks. Our squad leader stood tall, exuding a stern and resolute demeanor. Once recognized as the regiment's top #1 gunner, his insistence on unwavering precision was relentless. Training with him felt like an unending cycle of repetition. Assemble, aim, fire over and over, until fatigue dulled our sight and our muscles begged for relief. He not only sought proficiency from me, he insisted on perfection. Thus, we trained tirelessly. Our hands raw from holding the cold steel barrel of the mortar, our legs quaking after countless marches, and our bodies occasionally collapsing from sheer fatigue onto the dirt. The regiment conducted live-fire drills every quarter, and annually all 9 mortar squads engaged in a rigorous, full-scale exercise. It was nearing the end of 1977, a year after the Cultural Revolution concluded, and the whole country was striving to rebuild from the upheaval. This translated to a renewed desire for real skills and effective tactics for the military, beyond mere political slogans. The words of our squad leader rang continuously in our minds.
We must win first place in the regiment's live fire exercise next time.
First place?
Fat King, our heavy-set number 3 gunner, blinked in mock surprise, a mischievous grin tugging at the corners of his mouth.
Isn't that up to you and our number 1 gunner? The rest of us are here to dig and set the mortar.
The squad leader towered over him, scowling.
You little fat brat. This is teamwork. Do you understand?
Oh, I understand. You just want an excuse to yell at us.
Fat King replied casually, his round face widening into an insolent smile. The squad leader's eyes narrowed playfully.
We'll see. I'll be timing how quickly you dig and set up the mortar. If you slack off, you'll regret it.
Fat King laughed boldly.
Me slack off? You watch.
To prove himself, he stomped decisively to the mortar position, effortlessly hefted the heavy base plate, and threw it onto the ground. Snatching up a military spade, he dug furiously, soil flying in every direction. Within minutes, the base plate was firmly in place. Tossing the spade aside, he proudly adjusted his cap and puffed out his chest.
See, satisfied?
The squad leader chuckled, shaking his head.
Fine, fine. Act tough now, but don't embarrass us when the real moment comes.
Despite their words, their tone revealed no true malice. Both men were natives of Jing County, and their shared roots made their banter softer and more affectionate. Hoping to redirect the conversation, I asked casually, Fat King, your hometown is near the squad leaders, isn't it? Fat King shrugged nonchalantly.
Not really. I am from a tiny village. He lives in the county town, about 20 miles apart.
The squad leader nodded, a faint smile on his lips.
My hometown was always better off. His village was poor, there was nothing there.
Fat King's grin faded slightly, his tone suddenly edged with something darker.
Yes. Unlike you, squad leader, living it up like a big shot in the county town.
I sensed a hidden tension and carefully prodded, How could there really be nothing? Surely your village had something. Fat King hesitated, his playful demeanor slipping entirely. Then, with a casualness that seemed chillingly out of place, he muttered,
What could remain after the whole village died out?
My breath caught sharply. What? Your whole village died out? When? His eyes lowered slightly, his voice now strangely flat.
During the 3 years of natural disasters, my uncle and aunt initially survived by eating bark and mud. When they ran out of tree roots and leather belts, they crawled to the neighboring village, but everyone there was already dead, too. Nothing left.
An eerie stillness descended, suffocating and profound. Until then, the famine had been only an abstract and remote history words on a page, sanitized accounts. Yet now that I heard it firsthand, spoken as casually as one might mention bad weather, the horror of those years felt viscerally real. This land was fertile, abundant, and rich, yet just over a decade ago, entire communities had disappeared without a trace. Fat King recounted this as if it were an ordinary event. I found it hard to believe. Instinctively, I looked at our squad leader. His expression had tightened, and his eyes were darting urgently toward Fat King in a silent plea for him to cease speaking. At that moment, I grasped entirely what had been left unsaid for so long, the truths concealed behind casual smiles and light-hearted humor. It felt like a warning. I didn't ask any more questions. I wanted to. I was desperate to shout inquiries, to find out, to grasp how a whole village could vanish under communist rule. Yet I kept silent. Deep down, I sensed the risk. This story was a dangerous truth for all of us. In that instant, immersed in the weighty silence of our discussion, a deep and unsettling realization washed over me. Communism was a golden road paved with terrifying lies. One day, the squad leader handed me a letter.
This is from company headquarters. It's addressed to you, but with no return address.
He gave me a weird smile. I scrutinized the envelope closely. There was no sender indicated. My heartbeat quickened just a bit. Who could it be? Carefully tearing it open, I quickly skimmed through the contents. My eyes widened in surprise. The letter was from a girl, a member of the Red Guards Leadership League at 6th High, class of 77. I was amazed. Beyond mere surprise, I felt a profound sense of compassion. Here was a high school girl, still looking forward to graduation, who, like me, had been deeply immersed in the revolutionary ideologies of her era, yet still longed for love. Yet even in this remote military camp nestled within far-off mountains, ideology somehow infiltrated our private existence. Romantic relationships, it appeared, could not thrive without the influence of politics. During high school, I was somewhat aware of a few girls for whom I felt a quiet fondness. However, we had been taught to bury and hide our romantic feelings. Such emotions were deemed too personal and too human, having no room in our meticulously regulated lives. Suddenly, in the chilly army barracks, romance found me unexpectedly. The letter was from a girl who was a year younger than me. We often studied together at Red Guard's leadership meetings, exchanging ideas and engaging in political debates. However, we had never allowed personal emotions to intrude into our conversations. With her heartfelt handwriting, she had opened a door we had previously been too hesitant to approach, and she left the return address inside. But how had she even found out the address at my army base? I stared at the letter, uncertain about how to respond. As a soldier, I believed that romantic matters were just distractions, adding unnecessary complexity. However, as I refolded the letter, I remembered the peculiar, knowing glance the squad leader had given me when he passed it. Did he somehow sense what the letter contained? That evening, after training, I approached him with caution. "Squad leader, I have something to report." He looked up, a playful smirk forming on his lips.
A girlfriend?
I blinked in surprise. "How did you know?" He chuckled, pleased with himself.
From the handwriting, I knew immediately it was from a girl.
So he had closely inspected the envelope before giving it to me. I hesitated before asking, "What should I do?" He laughed gently, his eyes twinkling with amused wisdom.
Keep writing to her, but don't take it too seriously. You mustn't let it become a distraction.
Then, with another knowing smirk, he added softly, as if sharing a secret,
But since she's pursuing you, don't just let it go completely.
He spoke with assurance, as if he possessed significant experience in these matters. I reflected on the squad leader's advice for 2 days before I could finally craft a response. In my letter, I gently informed her that the timing wasn't right. I had just begun my military service, and she was still completing her high school. I proposed we wait 2 to 3 years until she graduated, and I had solidified my position in the army. Only then, I wrote, could we truly determine if something meaningful existed between us. The year 1977 marked a pivotal moment for the PLA. After a decade of political turmoil, military training shifted its focus to technical proficiency and effective combat readiness. The era of hollow slogans had ended. Genuine skill now took precedence over ideological zeal. In late October, an unforeseen announcement reached our camp. The division command will send examiners to evaluate each mortar squad's coordination and technical skills. Special emphasis will be placed on the accuracy and speed of number 1 gunners. The news reverberated throughout the regiment. Every leader, from the company commander to squad leaders, rushed into urgent preparations. Training escalated, drills grew more rigorous, and every aspect of mortar operation faced close inspection. The pressure was monumental, and as the number 1 gunner in our squad, the burden rested heavily on me. From dawn to dusk each day, I fixated on calculations, firing angles, distance tweaks, and the complexities of the mill system. A tiny mistake could lead to failure. I drove myself to fatigue, perfecting every step until the actions became as instinctive as breathing. When the examiners arrived a week later, their presence created a palpable tension across the regiment. One examiner approached our company, his gaze sharp and scrutinizing, holding a stopwatch. The test resembled an academic competition, an environment I was all too familiar with. In that pivotal moment, my school habits resurfaced. I shut out distractions, focusing deeply on the numbers, angles, and measurements, acting swiftly and with certainty. Each calculation came to me effortlessly. A sense of quiet confidence washed over me as I realized I was performing at my best. 2 weeks later, the results revealed that I had secured the top position throughout the entire division. This victory instantly elevated my reputation within the regiment. It marked the first official technical assessment in our military district in a decade, and my accomplishment resonated with pride throughout the Corps. One cold evening in December 1977, the squad leader approached me quietly after dinner.
The organization has decided to cultivate you as a party member. You should write an application to join.
I was startled. Me? But I'm not qualified yet. The squad leader's gaze hardened, impatience flickering in his eyes.
It doesn't matter. If the organization says you are qualified, then you are qualified. Just write the application.
Still, I hesitated. I think I need more experience. He threw his hands up in frustration.
You're such an idiot. Do you know how many people want to join the party but aren't considered for membership? Now the party is inviting you and you're hesitating?
He leaned in closer, lowering his voice.
There are many benefits to being a party member, don't you understand?
I fell silent. Deep down, I knew he was right. I stood anxiously in the company mess hall a week later, alongside 3 other soldiers. Before us, a portrait of Chairman Mao was quickly hung for the ceremony. With our right fists raised solemnly, we recited the oath together. I swear to remain forever loyal to the party, forever loyal to Chairman Mao, and forever loyal to the party Central Committee. I dedicate my life to the cause of proletarian revolution and will fight tirelessly for the realization of communism until the end of my days. As my voice resonated in the hall, I fixed my gaze on Mao's portrait. In that tranquil, almost dreamlike moment, a faint memory emerged. My initial personal encounter with his image many years ago when I was a young kindergarten child. Just days after I pledged my allegiance to the party, an unforeseen revelation hit me. My squad leader, the deputy squad leader, and even Fat King will be leaving the army at the end of the year. The news left me in shock, and a sudden emptiness filled my heart. The prospect of losing these men, the comrades who had guided and molded me during my challenging first year in uniform, made me acutely aware of their significance in my life. I remembered all we had faced together, the grueling marches through ice and mud, the ceaseless drills, the biting cold, and most importantly, the bond formed through our shared hardships. The idea of them leaving without a proper farewell was unbearable. That afternoon, I visited the regimental store to buy a bottle of Mao Tai liquor, an extravagant luxury that cost more than a soldier's monthly salary, and the most expensive gift I could think of. Under the canopy of thick trees behind our barracks, the very place where we had trained for countless hours, I held a secret farewell gathering for my departing comrades. Although drinking alcohol was prohibited in the army in general, tonight was an exception. As dusk fell, we sipped Mao Tai, its rare warmth spreading through our throats. The men, unaccustomed to drinking, soon flushed, their laughter ringing in hearty waves. Beneath rustling leaves, their joy echoed across the tranquil valley.
No one has ever treated us to Mao Tai before. I had never imagined that I would have a chance to drink Mao Tai,
the squad leader remarked, raising the precious bottle and admiring it as if it were a treasured artifact. In that moment, it represented the value of friendship and the fleeting joy of shared moments. As the evening progressed and the Mao Tai was finished, the squad leader carefully stowed the empty bottle away.
"I'll keep this,"
he murmured, his voice tinged with a hint of sentiment.
"To remember tonight."
40 years after we parted ways, we reconnected online. During a video call, he proudly displayed that same bottle of Mao Tai, now a cherished memento. He had preserved it all these years.